The drone mission that shouldn't have worked before dawn. A Russian air defense officer glanced at a situation report and saw exactly what he wanted to see. Every likely approach route was covered. Every valley had been studied. Every corridor that enemy drones had used in previous weeks was under observation. Machine gun teams were waiting. Missile crews were waiting. Electronic warfare operators were waiting. If the enemy came tonight, they would be flying into one of the most prepared defensive networks on the entire front. On paper, there was almost no scenario where the attack succeeded, and yet, by sunrise, a rare military aircraft worth far more than the drones attacking it would be, burning on the tarmac. What's fascinating isn't that the strike succeeded, it's how many times it nearly failed. First, because this wasn't a story about a perfect plan. It was a story about adaptation, a story where every side kept solving problems, only to create new ones, and by the end, nobody was fighting the battle they expected. The mission began in darkness. No dramatic speeches, no countdown clocks, no fighter jets screaming into the night. Just 4 drones sitting quietly in a launch area. From a distance, they looked almost ordinary. Long wings, small engine, simple airframe. Nothing about them suggested they were about to trigger a chain of events, stretching hundreds of kilometers across contested territory, but appearances can be misleading. Each drone carried a warhead powerful enough to destroy valuable military equipment. More importantly, each carried something else, a mission with no margin for error. The planners understood the odds. These aircraft weren't stealthy, they weren't especially fast, and once airborne, they would spend hours crossing territory where countless eyes were looking for them. Nobody expected all 4 to survive. The objective was simpler: get one through, just one, because one was enough. At 2:14 in the morning, the first drone launched, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. Within moments, all 4 disappeared into the darkness. The hardest part should have been ahead, but in reality, the danger had already started. Unknown to the launch crews, Russian observers had been watching the area for days. Patterns matter in war. Launch sites leave clues. Vehicle tracks, movement schedules, repeated behaviors. Given enough time, those clues become predictions, and predictions become ambushes. Long before the drones lifted off, coordinates were already moving through Russian command. Channels, mortars were being prepared, guns were being alerted, defenders were waking up. The attack had barely begun, and the enemy already knew something was happening. The crews on the ground understood this. The moment the final drone left the launcher, they folded equipment and ran. Seconds later, artillery rounds started landing nearby. Dirt erupted into the air. Fragments tore through trees. The launch position vanished beneath explosions. But by then, the drones were already gone. The people on the ground had done their job. Now the mission belonged to the aircraft. The 4 drones settled into formation, not high above the clouds, not where radar would easily find them. Instead, they stayed low, very low, low enough that fields blurred beneath them, low enough that trees occasionally appeared alarmingly close. The darkness helped, so did the terrain, but neither could change one uncomfortable fact. The route was predictable, and predictability is dangerous. Several kilometers ahead, a Russian fire group commander sat inside a concealed position. His vehicle was hidden. Its engine was off. The crew had been waiting for hours, maybe longer. They weren't guessing. They weren't patrolling. Randomly, experience had taught them where drones preferred to fly. Terrain funnels movement, valleys guide aircraft. Rivers create natural navigation routes, and over time, Drones begin following the same paths. Tonight, the commander believed he knew exactly where to wait. Then he saw them. 4 faint shapes crossing the darkness. Slow. Low. Exactly where he expected. A smile appeared on his face. Because from his perspective, the hardest part was over. The targets had arrived. All he had to do now was shoot. What he didn't know was that he wasn't the only hunter watching the sky.